And on behalf of myself and all of the other moderators, CNBC, of course, I just want to thank the Atlantic Council for having all of us and for having all of you, of course, in the UAE. Wonderful hosts as always. And now I'm going to hand it all over to the lovely Fred Kempe.
So first of all, a huge round of applause for Hadley and for CNBC. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a great closing panel. And what was best about it from an American standpoint is 3 days almost entirely American politics free until this last few minutes. And watching television here, if you watch cable television in the United States, you watch cable television in the United States, and you really have the feeling that there really is only one story, and that even the Soleimani killing has only to do with domestic politics, and it actually was refreshing to come here and to talk about everything we talked about. So thank you for all the time you took to be with us. And I'm going to be really brief, but I want to say a couple of things in closing. First of all, you would expect me, and I will thank our partners. We've done this for 4 years now. They're amazing partners. This is an amazing landscape and country to operate on. One of the few places where one can talk about all these issues with such amazing credibility. ADNOC, led by Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, Mubadala Investment Company, led by CEO Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, as well as CEO of Mubadala Petroleum Petrochemicals, Musab Al-Kabi, CEO of Masdar, Mohammed Jamil Al-Ramahi, and it's a pleasure, as always, to host this event in partnership with the UAE Ministry of Energy and Industry, led by Minister Suhail Al-Mazroui. He usually closes this with me. There is a troupe of foreign leaders coming in for the beginning of Sustainability Week tomorrow. A lot of our UAE officials are already tending to heads of state, heads of government, and so he sends his regrets, but is looking forward with me to seeing you all again next year. From the various threads of discussion, I want to share just a couple of takeaways from the forum. First of all, we're hearing more and more about the scrutiny that capital, in some ways, turning away from traditional oil and gas as financial markets become increasingly aware of the future of a different and more sustainable energy mix. However, it's not clear from what we've heard that this capital is embracing a wide range of clean energy technologies at the scale needed to meet our goals. We're leaving the old world, but the new world is still taking shape, and we really heard that in Fatih Birol's opening presentation. It's becoming increasingly clear that we need to be sure to integrate the oil and gas sector in our decarbonization goals. We started with a workshop on that, and we've gone deeper on that throughout the 3 days. If you want to thread the needle between energy security, energy access, and decarbonization, we have to include all the tools in the toolbox. And we cannot shy away from the hard challenge of reducing emissions impact in the oil and gas sector. The Atlantic Council works in an all-of-the-above strategy looking at energy and the future of energy, and frankly, that's also what the world has to embrace. These three priorities, energy access, sustainability, and security, are also driving interest and investment in energy infrastructure that interconnects societies like never before. From pipelines to power lines to LNG terminals to hydrogen networks and beyond. I'm becoming a little bit obsessed with hydrogen, but we'll hear more about that, I hope, next year. These new interconnections are not only necessary to meet our shared policy goals at lower cost, but also shape the geopolitical aspects of the energy transition. And of course, that's where the Atlantic Council brings its great strength. This reinforces the very ethos of this conference, and that is the energy transition continues to shape and be shaped by geopolitics. From concerns over certain countries' dominance in clean energy manufacturing to new choke points and critical minerals that go into making these technologies. We heard from Frank Fannin. Geopolitics is ever present. The rise of Asia and growing Asian competition, low carbon innovation is serving only to intensify those trends. We spent a lot of time on Asian issues. We'll continue to do that here. And this brings me to my final point, and that is the whole issue of geopolitics and markets. And we've had attacks on tankers. We've had a crisis in Venezuela. We've had sanctions on Iran. We've had the U.S. drone strike just before we convened on General Soleimani, arguably the second most important person in Iran. Markets have been, and particularly energy markets, have been enormously calm through all of this. So in the 4 years that we have been doing this in Abu Dhabi, energy markets seem to have matured. It remains to be seen whether political markets have matured along with energy markets and how our political leaders will respond to the current moments of stress. What I found reassuring in the planning of this forum, we went to great lengths to ensure that our staff and our participants would be entirely secure. We took every step we could, dealing with officials in the UAE, dealing with officials in the United States, and we actually concluded, like I think many of you did, that this was one of the most secure places one could possibly be in these troubled times. I won't compare it with Washington, but I feel very safe here. We were created, the Atlantic Council, 58 years ago, to work with friends and allies to secure the future and to shape the future. You've been remarkable friends and allies over the last 3 days. We want to continue to shape the future with all of you. We're going to communicate with you very early on in the next year about the agenda, about how we can start working towards setting the energy agenda into the future. I hope you're all coming away from these conversations as energized as I am, as committed to creating a better, more sustainable future for us and for future generations. So we don't just convene, we don't just write, we actually work together to shape the future. That is the mission of the Atlantic Council. Before I officially call the summit to a close, on behalf of the Atlantic Council, on behalf also of the Energy Ministry and all our UAE partners, and all our partners for the summit, I'd like to take a moment to thank the incredible team at the Atlantic Council that made these last few days possible. And I'm not sure, do we have the photo that I've been trying to get of Randy? There we go.
Yay.
Oh my God. So it's thanks to Randy Bell's incredible leadership, alongside Dick Morningstar, that the Global Energy Center and their counterparts from across the Atlantic Council were able to pull off the richest agenda in our 4 years with such remarkable alacrity and efficiency. I have to admit, when that's the most relaxed I've seen Randy in a long time. I have to admit, when Randy mentioned to me that his wife Lacey was expecting and that he would be going on paternal leave the same week of our global energy forum, a lot of things went through my mind. But being a softer, gentler CEO in our current generation, I of course said there is absolutely no way you can come to Abu Dhabi. Of course you have to be there. This is much more important than any single energy forum, even if you're just having a child and we're saving the world. But I was a tad nervous. But I've never been prouder of him than in his absence, because of the team he's pulled together and the steps he took over the last year, 6 months in particular, to make sure that everything would work perfectly without him being here. And so, first of all, a round of applause for Randy, Lacey, and little Porter. And if you'll bear with me, I just want to briefly bring to the stage the core members of the Atlantic Council team, without whom this summit would not have been possible. And if they're going to come up here, and then just hold your applause, and then we can applaud them all once they're here. Reed Blakemore, Emily Burlinghouse, there we go. Jennifer Gordon, Becca Hunziker, Bina Hussein, Gray Johnson, Olga Kakova, Iveta Kruma, David Livingston, Midley Merlet, Zach Strauss, John Suin, and Brian Tambero. You probably noticed there are many members of the communications team not up here, and also Dick Morningstar's not up here. It takes a full village along with all of our partners here. So thanks to everybody who's put this together. Please attend our closing reception at the St. Regis Bar. I've seen enough of you there already that I think you know how to find it. And we'll see you all next year. Please help us shape the future in the meantime, and please come back again. Thank you so much.